As we said, these links to terror aren't new. The 9/11 terror attacks in the US was the time when the world woke up to Saudi Arabia's links to terror, and 20 years on, this country continues to be covertly and overtly supporting terrorists. Our next report looks at Saudi Arabia's often buried report card on terrorism.
After the September 11, 2001 terror attacks, countries around the world called on the Saudi government to crack down on the imams preaching hate in Saudi mosques. Those calls grew louder after it emerged that 15 out of the 19 hijackers in the attacks were from Saudi Arabia. At that time, Saudi officials had promised to make efforts to crack down on homegrown extremism. But ever since the 9/11 attacks, major acts of terror have invariably had a Saudi connection. According to two studies published in the year 2007, most of the suicide bombers in Iraq were found to be Saudis. In 2014, Iraq accused Saudi Arabia of having started the civil war in Iraq and Syria. After the 2017 terror attacks in Tehran, Iran too blamed Saudi Arabia for exporting terror. Saudi Arabia's relationship with terrorism is a rather complex one. Much of Saudi support is done by so-called non-state actors. Yet, being non-state does not absolve the Saudi government of responsibility. These non-state actors enjoy a range of relationships to the Saudi regime. Some receive official patronage. Those tied to leading clerics in the kingdom are embraced indirectly, and still others are truly private, acting independently of the government. Individuals and charities based in Saudi Arabia have been among the most important sources of funds for Al-Qaeda over the years. The Saudi government denies claims that it exports religious or cultural extremism, but the regime is responsible for building and funding more than 1,500 mosques across the world. These religious institutions preach the strict, conservative, Saudi-based Wahhabism or Salafism. This radical form of Sunni Islam is said to have inspired the 9/11 hijackers and the Islamic State terrorists. In its harshest form, this interpretation of Islam says that Muslims should hate others for their religion and that democracy is responsible for all the horrible wars of the 20th century. Experts say that by its nature, Wahhabism encourages intolerance and promotes terrorism. Saudi Arabia itself is intolerant too when it gets criticized on this issue, especially by one of their own, as was evident in the case of the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi when the Saudi regime was caught red-handed. In April last year, Khashoggi wrote in a column on Washington Post that Saudi Arabia should return to its pre-1979 climate when the government restricted hardline Wahhabi traditions. 5 months later, he was assassinated at their consulate in Istanbul, reportedly at the behest of the Crown Prince. The Saudi connection to Islamist terrorism in India is primarily through the funding of India-focused terrorist outfits based in Pakistan. $100 million of funding every year is reportedly being pumped into 3 terror outfits, including Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was behind the recent Pulwama terror attack. The other organization sharing the annual $100 million Saudi fund is Jamaat-ud-Dawa. Founded by one of India's most wanted terrorists, Hafiz Saeed, Jamaat-ud-Dawa is the political arm of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the LET is arguably the one Pakistan-based group which has inflicted the maximum terrorist violence on India. Saudi Arabia has also played a crucial role in promoting Wahhabism within India. It has set up a network of madrasas and workshops helmed by extremist Wahhabi preachers. India's Intelligence Bureau had said that just between the years 2011 and 2013, a record number of 25,000 Wahhabi preachers arrived in the country to conduct seminars. And with them, they brought in $250 million of Saudi funds in several installments. Some reports state that Saudi funding has also gone into the deceptively named Popular Front of India, or PFI, and the Social Democratic Party of India, or SDPI. Both have been accused by India's National Investigation Agency of engaging in terrorist acts. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.